Surveys show that support for staying in the UK is waning, particularly in Scotland. In Wales, too, the votes are increasing after the separation. Great Britain will not find peace even after Brexit. In Scotland, plans for independence from Great Britain are continuing. The Scottish First Minister Nicola Sturgeon has announced several times in the past that a legal referendum will be held after the end of the corona pandemic. The prerequisite is that pro-independence parties again receive a majority in the regional election planned for May 6th. The central government in London under Prime Minister Boris Johnson had repeatedly spoken out in the past against a Scottish second referendum. However, Sturgeon stressed that Scotland would go it alone should no agreement be reached with London. An SNP government wants to introduce and pass a law that will allow a legal referendum to be held after the pandemic and will vigorously oppose any legal challenge by the British government. As a result, the whole of Britain is looking forward to the Scottish national election on May 6th. But in the shadow of this much-noticed voting is also taking place elsewhere in the kingdom, for example in Wales. One of the main themes there is the same as in the north of the island. In Wales too, Brexit and the policies of the British government are driving the independence movement to new supporters. According to current surveys, approval for such a plan is currently just under a third. That is far from the constant majorities we saw last in Scotland, said Richard Wynne-Jones, a political scientist from Cardiff University, to the German press agency. But by Welsh standards, that is quite an increase, because so far the independence question has played a minor role in the second smallest part of the UK. But before the general election on May 6th, it is one of the defining topics, not only in Scotland, but also in Wales. The Conservative British government is using Brexit to centralise political power more strongly in London instead of giving regional governments more powers, Jones said. Young people in particular were therefore open to breaking away from Great Britain. If they had to choose between centralisation and independence, they would vote for independence, he says. Much would depend on how the situation develops in Scotland, said the expert. If there were another referendum in Scotland, despite the resistance in London, and if the Scots then vote for independence, this could trigger a domino effect in Wales as well. And there are no worries about an economically weak, independent Wales. Brexit is destroying what is left of the economy here, said Jones, referring to trade problems with the EU since Britain left the EU internal market and the customs union. And he says, we are losing a lot of young, bright people who never come back. Proponents of independence emphasize that the country is better able to advance the economy on its own. The pro-independence party, Plaid Cymru, I'm not that good in Welsh. In German, it's Walisische Party, or in English, Welsh Party, a sister of the Scottish ruling party SNP, has not yet benefited from the mood. According to the expert, everything points to a renewed success of the Labour Party in the election. Many supporters of independence felt that they were in good hands with Labour and praised First Minister Mark Drakeford's steady hand during the corona crisis. Labour itself is against independence and rather strives for greater autonomy, but shows understanding for the demands. In the 2016 Brexit referendum, the Welsh people voted to leave the EU, or I have to rephrase that. The people in Wales, in a majority, voted to leave the EU, but with the information I have, at least, it looks as if that went to the English living in Wales more than to the Welsh people. So you probably have to be very precise with the wording here. And if you want to stay informed, please subscribe to my channel. Auf Wiedersehen.